Hey everyone, welcome back to the Horror Show. I'm Cecil Laird.
I'm Fuego here.
Back with another review straight here out of the Phoenix Film Festival, you guys, 2017, and the International Horror and Sci-Fi Film Festival, sub-branch of the Phoenix Film Festival. And today we are going to be talking about what, Fuego?
Found footage 3D, which we saw in 2D.
Yes. And
Festival
unfortunately,
constraints.
that's going to play a big part in my review. So we'll do this as usual. We'll talk about the overall, the story, the acting, the effects, all that good stuff. But to start off, I will say that I did overall enjoy the movie. However, I very, very, very much wish I had been able to see it in 3D because I'm a huge found footage movie fan, and it was just a bummer to see what maybe we could have seen in 3D but only presented in 2D. It kind of bummed me out almost the whole way through. But the movie itself, and actually I gotta say, the movie itself, to me, the first 2/3 were just kind of, it was hit and miss.
It was very much built up.
But the last third, the final act was a payoff that I thought was at least worth the wait, because if it hadn't been that good, I would have thought the movie would have been overall a failure. But because of that third act, I thought it was a success. So that's my thoughts. Fuego?
Yeah, I actually had a lot of fun with this movie. I hate found footage, and it really takes a novel approach for me to enjoy that subgenre of horror, and the fact that they were so meta about this and so poking fun at the lovers of it, which I know kind of turns you off a little bit. And for someone like me who doesn't like the subgenre, it worked for me in that snarky kind of, it was almost an antagonistic, like kind of, nasty regard. But at the end of the day, I do think one of the biggest hindrances in the format that we saw it in was the fact that it's a trope that is constantly mentioned through the entirety of the movie, and not getting to see it in that format, it didn't give us the full extent of the experience.
It was a bummer for a couple of reasons, not the least of which is the whole time they're poking fun at the found footage formula and how it's just the same things over and over again. And they're even saying, what's going to happen, right? Because we've been saying the rules of found footage the entire time. The problem is, because we're not seeing it and we didn't see it in 3D, it is only exactly these things they're meant to make fun of.
True.
It doesn't pass that level because it's just more of that to us.
Yeah.
It's nothing new if we're not watching it in 3D.
And also the whole self-referential, we make more money with 3D ticket sales and all this other stuff, but if you can't show it in 3D to people, it basically kills the novelty that you're shackled to.
And it kills the dialogue too.
In some ways,
there's a lot of times where they talk. Actually, there's a time he talks directly to the audience and even points at them, and it's just frustrating that we can't. Whatever.
It's fine.
And it's just, I forgot what I was fucking saying.
The whole novelty of the audience, I think, or just the point where he's addressing the audience.
Oh yeah, okay. And when you address the audience directly like that, it immediately takes us as the audience out of the movie, especially if he's being derogatory towards us. So I'll get into that. That's part of the story. So the story is this group of independent filmmakers want to make a found footage movie, but they want to do it different. And basically there's the money man, who's the producer. He hired a director that wants to make a genuinely good found footage movie, and he's got all these ideas and the script and all this stuff. And
Andrew, I want to say, was
Andrew.
name?
But then you also have the bearded sound guy, who's pretty funny, and then
he was
you have
great. One of my favorite characters.
The main producer's brother plays the cameraman, and then the main producer's ex-wife is the lead in the role,
which creates tension.
It creates the conflict through pretty much the whole thing, but to an almost annoying extent.
It was very tropey, unfortunately.
So they go to film a found footage movie, and the whole crew thinks it's just a set. It turns out, in actually one of the more funny scenes, we find out that it's a genuinely haunted house. There's a funny scene where they're in this, and they've made it to this rural town, and they see these two hick guys sitting on a porch, and they try and get them to act like this residence that they're going to. They're like, oh, the old Boyle place or whatever.
Being not experienced actors, it creates some laughs.
Yeah, but then when they actually reference the real name of the place they're going, the acting of these dudes goes away, and that was actually really funny.
In
and
the
funny.
mode,
yeah.
And it's funny. They're like, wait a minute, you're not filming at this place, are you?
Yeah, it was.
And they're like, yeah, we are.
It was hilarious. So there
you don't want to go down that route.
There was a lot of really funny moments like that, especially in the first 2/3 of the movie. And
that was how they sustained the first 2/3 of the movie. I thought was with the humor.
And
of
course,
like no scares.
But of course, what happens is not unlike Grave Encounters. Like this, to me, was the big budget version of Grave Encounters, which was about a ghost hunting television show that goes and actually finds ghosts. So this is a group of filmmakers going to make a found footage movie and actually getting attacked by spirits that are in this real haunted house.
But they knew what they were getting into, and that's not really spoiling anything, as they say early on in the movie that, it's actually, we got the tip that there might be some spirits here, and they were hoping they would add some character. Who the hell knows? Story-wise, I actually liked it, but then again, that jumps back to the meta aspect of it, and the fact that they were so self-referential and so just kind of sarcastic about the genre in and of itself. And for a genre that I'm not as fond of, it worked for me, but it definitely wouldn't work for everybody.
Yeah, I agree. And here's the thing: like, the movie is very strange because it's trying to win over found footage haters, but at the same time, it's really talking down to those of us that really love found footage movies. They reference more than like almost 3 or 4 different times. They're like, found footage is garbage. That's why we need to make it different and all this, and all the people that pay for it are just, they're stupid and whatever. It's a girl, and they're talking down to people that like jump scares in horror movies, or like jump scares are for people without high brain capacity. And it's like, like I get the argument you're trying to make artistically, but at the same time, it's still really talk downy to people, and that bummed me out. But then, of course, once the stuff starts happening to the crew, and especially when we get to the third act, it really starts to pick up, and it becomes a movie I wanted it to be.
Yeah, and that's when it becomes your true found footage film, is in the third act. And that's where I guess they tried to bridge the gap and make people who really enjoy found footage, like redeem the film for those, and then still bring along the people like me who aren't so fond of it. They tried to bring it all together. For better or for worse, it didn't succeed on all levels, but I liked the story just for the fact that it tried to turn the genre on its head a little bit, but to its detriment, the fact that they kept calling attention to the gimmick, which we weren't able to see it in that particular format.
Exactly. It took you out every time. You're like, well, I can't see that. But also, I got to say that one of the questions they wanted to answer, they're like, if you're making a found footage movie, the one question you always have to answer is, in the third act, why do people hold on to the camera? Why don't they just put it down and run? Which this commentary has been done in other found footage movies at this point, which brings me to the point that this movie was clearly filmed about 5 years ago. Because at one point early in the movie, they reference a movie. Well, this movie came out last year, and it's going gangbusters, and so we need to do that. And it's a movie that's on like its 6th iteration. I don't know if it was specifically Paranormal Activity, but it was one like that. And they reference it, and it's like, oh, so clearly the one thing that the question, the way they answer that question as to why they don't put that on the camera, was answered the exact same way in Paranormal Activity, The Ghost Dimension.
And since I haven't seen that, I thought that the explanation was brilliant and awesome, from someone who doesn't watch a lot of found footage. They had 2014 on the stuff at the very beginning of the film and on the t-shirts, and so...
Which was the year before Paranormal Ghost Dimension came out.
Okay, so, hey, maybe that's them covering their asses, or maybe it was filmed in the last year or so, and they just copped the idea as kind of
I would give them more credit than that.
I'm not really saying either way, since I don't know, but I would be curious when the production schedule actually started.
Well, let's hit the acting real quick, because we've gone on quite a bit about this already.
Indeed. I like the acting.
It was good. It was good. I thought the husband and wife were a little over the top at times.
As they
were a
needed
little
to
tough
be,
to swallow.
But they felt like those eccentric LA idiots who, they're trying to maintain the creative connection, and they're like, okay, let's push personal problems aside and let's still roll with it because it's for our own career's benefit that we continue working together. And so they made total sense to me, even though I thought they were total schmucks.
All right. Well, fair enough.
Yeah,
I got tired of them because it was a back and forth. It was just like it was a really heightened version of that fighting couple that fight and get together and fight and get together, and that's just so annoying to see when it's shoved in your face and when it's also the basis of all of the conflict of the movie. So that got a little frustrating, but I think
all the other characters though.
Yeah, the other characters were good. I was going to say, especially the sound guy. The sound guy was great. He was hilarious.
Younger Blondie was cute. I didn't like the
brother.
Didn't like the kind of
the fake stuttering brother.
Yeah, the fact that he seemed pathetic to me.
Yeah,
he really did.
He was a real sad sack.
He really was. He was like, "You're so beautiful."
Yeah,
you know. And obviously, she is way more woman than he could handle, which you really realize. You know, he was just there, and to kind of hook up with his I'm not going to spoil anything because that would be just a little too much. But you didn't really feel for the character, even at a point where he has someone turn their back on him, and he's obviously upset about it, and then he doesn't even react properly. He just kind of goes back to being passive. And
the character motivations were all over the place in this one, I gotta say. But
I did like the director's diet, like his little angry rant that we saw a little bit of.
But we do need to talk about the effects, which, again, we can't mention how the 3D looked because we didn't get to see it that way. So let's talk about the spectral effects.
Yes, although make sure it's on PlayStation VR 3D, right?
Yeah, exactly. Please put it on a Blu-ray in 3D so I can actually watch it on my VR. That'd be great.
I would so watch this in 3D.
But yeah, I gotta say that the spectral effects were pretty basic. I mean, it was sort of a cloudy, dark cloud spectral film, which we've seen so many times at this point that it's a little ridiculous. But also, the blood. There was actually. We got the gore in the back quarter of the movie, or back quarter of the movie.
Which you see in the trailer, so that's not spoiling. You know, there's going to be one scene with some serious carnage at least.
And it was pleasing for me, that scene. So I really appreciated that. So what did you think of the gore or the effects?
Well, the gore and the effects. I mean, when we got them, I actually wasn't quite as negative about the way the apparitions looked when you actually got to see them, but it was very run-of-the-mill. It's not like they visualized them in some drastically different manner, but I didn't think they looked cheesy or fake. It just looked like, things I've seen before. So I'm not going to hate on them for that, but it didn't really do anything that inventive or new with the visuals.
Which unfortunately, that can kind of be said for the movie as a whole, because without, at least in this iteration, without that 3D gimmick, it's hard to say that this did anything except follow the found footage formula almost to a T, as they expressly tell us that every step along the way. We need to do this, we need to hit this, there needs to be this is the character conflict we need, and then by the end this needs to happen.
There was some silly foreshadowing too, especially when they went right with it by the time they got to the finale. So
well, I think that's going to pretty much cover our review of this one, Fuego.
Indeed, music was not much to speak of, so sound design I guess was kind of cool in some aspects.
Sound design was good in some aspects, but
yeah, with like the editing aspect where the guy is like actually cutting footage on the premises while they're filming it, and there were certain cool trips. But then again, since I haven't seen a lot of the Paranormal Activities or a lot of these where they're deliberately filming stuff, and I don't have a lot of point of reference to compare with how amateurish this potentially was. So
you don't really need the basis for comparison, trust me. But yeah, so there you go, guys. So that's going to do it for our review of Found Footage 3D in 2D. So make sure you seek it out if you get a chance, you guys, especially if you can see it in 3D. I think it's very worth your time. And even if it's in 2D, it's worth it just if you want to see the poking fun at the found footage genre and stuff, because there's plenty of that in there. So
yeah, I still really enjoyed it. I mean, it didn't blow me away, but for what it was trying to say about the genre itself, I appreciate it. So
cool. All right. Yeah. Well, thanks again, you guys. Until next time, I've been Cecil Laird.
Gracias, I've been Jaime Fuego.
And remember, stay scared.